Stop letting grunt work eat your creative time. These are the 5 Claude Code skills every team and agency should be using to win back hours every week, plus a bonus tool to build skills custom to your own workflow. Running a creative agency means orchestrating a full team across every stage of a project, pitching the client, generating ideas, production, and post-production. It takes a lot of people and a lot of time. And when you're juggling that many hands on one project, you run into the same problems every agency owner knows: bottlenecks, inconsistent branding, lost hours, and back and forth that should have taken minutes. I wanted to find a way to optimize the whole system, to pitch, onboard, produce, and deliver projects faster at higher quality while keeping the whole experience genuinely enjoyable for my clients. Then I found Claude Code and it took me to the next level. And these 5 skills changed how I run my agency. But first, some quick context. My name is Mitchell and I own and run a creative agency called Creative Haven that's worked with brands like Colgate, Spotify, Sony, and Amazon. I've hired and led teams of designers, animators, creative directors, editors, and motion artists on projects with budgets well into the 6 figures. The point is to free your team from the grunt work so they can spend more time on what they're actually good at, the creative thinking brands pay for. Now, quick note before we start, these aren't prompts, these are skills, Claude skills. You install them once, they're always available, and they get sharper the more you use them. Think of them as an SOP or a standard operating procedure Claude Code follows automatically, not commands or prompts you have to retype every single time. I'm going to be walking through these skills in the exact order you'd actually use them on a real client project: pitch, concepting, production, post, and finishing. Let's go. Okay, really quick before I show you how to install this first skill, which is the front-end design skill, I want to give you some background. A few months ago, I hired a designer to redesign my website. I paid for cheap and I got what I paid for, and it didn't look good. It was just templates dressed up to look custom and I could see it, and I realized I needed to redesign my website on my own. So what I did is I used this skill instead. And it didn't just fix my website, it changed how I approach every design deliverable that goes out of my agency. Then once I saw what it could do, I started turning the same skill towards my proposals. So to give you a look, this is my capability statement. It's a document that I send to government agencies and organizations when I'm bidding on an RFP. Before, I was using a generic template that I've downloaded offline. It looked like every single other one and it looked pretty basic. If my own capability statement doesn't stand out, my creative ability isn't showing through. So this is after I put it through front-end design, and it's the same document, but rebuilt with Claude. It's branded, it's polished, looks like a real agency made it. And look, I'm a producer, a creator, and a filmmaker, not a designer. So I know my limitations. This skill fills that gap. All right, so let me show you how to install it. There are actually 2 skills I install together. It's the front-end design skill from Anthropic, and a second skill called Impeccable that turns the official skill into something even more powerful. It's not a competing skill. It's a design vocabulary that fits on top of front-end design. Impeccable teaches Claude completely different design styles so you can get more variety. So basically, the AI slop never gets generated in the first place because you got 2 designers working on it. Plus, it audits and improves the designs you create so you get another set of eyes on your graphics to make sure it follows the best practices and standards of graphic design. So to install this skills and all the other skills moving forward, you're going to paste this command in your terminal or your IDE. I use VS Code. After front-end design skill is installed, next we're going to install the Impeccable skill. Same thing, take this command line from the website and paste it into your terminal or your IDE. So now that you have that installed, I'm going to show you how to use it by creating a proposal from call notes that you have with a prospect. First, I'm going to upload my brand deck. And if you don't have a brand deck, just describe your fonts and colors and visual feel to Claude Code. And from there, it knows your brand. So here's where it gets real. I had a discovery call with this prospect, and I'm going to just take these notes and I'm going to copy and paste them into Claude Code. And from there, I write my prompt. And moving forward, I'm going to show you the prompt on screen so that you can just pause the video and you can copy my prompt or use your own variation of it. Now watch this. Claude builds the proposal, then Impeccable runs the polish command on top, catching typography misalignment, spacing issues, contrast problems before I even see them. There it is, a branded proposal personalized to this client by using just call notes. And it might be a different experience for all of y'all because I've had these skills and I've trained my Claude Code about my company and I've done numerous proposals with other companies. So you might have a few other steps to train Claude Code. It used to take me 24 hours of design and writing time. Now I send the proposal in an hour after the call while the client is still excited about the conversation. And that's really important when it comes to sales. And yes, the first pass is not going to be perfect, but that's when you give notes to Claude Code in the terminal with natural language. So to recap, the front-end design and impeccable skill is great for government RFP responses and proposals, as well as proposals for potential clients, client scope of work agreements and contracts, pitch decks, website and case study pages, and internal microsites. So once a client is interested and you wow them with your proposal, or you need to impress them more with some ideas, the next bottleneck is concepting. You need ideas, but not generic AI brainstorm output that sounds like every other agency. That's where the creative director skill comes in. It runs a real 5-phase creative process: insight, ideation, evaluation, presentation. It uses over 20 real creative methodologies that agencies like Droga 5 and Whiten and Kennedy actually use. But the part that blew me away about this whole skill is every concept it generates gets scored against a library of 571 legendary advertising campaigns. So when I present ideas to a client, they're not just good general ideas that I can get from ChatGPT. They're calibrated against the best advertising work ever made. So the first step is to go to the GitHub repo, copy the URL, and ask Claude to install it. Now I'm going to show you a real example. You can either ask it to come up with ideas, or for me, what's great is that you can use a URL instead to generate ideas. So the website I'm going to use is collison.com, which is a collagen brand that I'm actually partnered with, which is good so I can verify if the ideas it generates are actually good that I can use on current campaigns, or it's just AI fluff. So I'm just going to paste the URL and put in my prompt. And then watch. It runs through the whole 5-phase cycle: insight, ideation, scoring against the CAN library, refinement, presentation, and it even gives you a recommendation. And I like some of these. Check it out. How long did yours last? Which is a confessional campaign where users share their supplement failure stories. Then positioning Collison as the one that breaks the pattern. Short, thought-provoking videos to seed the campaign. What's awesome is that these are pain points my ICP have that I've used before in my previous campaigns. And I didn't even tell Claude that, I just shared my URL. And these aren't just fluffy Super Bowl commercial concepts. These are functional contemporary ideas that you can run on social media tomorrow. Your strategist or creative director still makes the final call on which concept to push. Claude just gave them and you a rigorously evaluated starting point instead of a blank Google Doc. So to recap, you can use Creative Director for new client brief response, campaign concept pitches, internal idea generation, stress testing existing creative work, and generating multiple campaign variants for testing. Now that we have the ideas and the client approves them, it's time to make the visuals. On top of filming or animating yourself, you can also create AI-generated content. Now here's the truth most creators won't admit out loud. Prompting AI image and video models is hard. Every model has a different syntax. Nano Banana wants one thing, GPT Image 2 wants another, C-Dance has multi-shot, Kling has element binding. Most people type cinematic 4K masterpiece and wonder why the output is mid. Those words literally don't render. They're filler that models ignore. Visual Skills fixes this. It's 2 skills in one repo, one for images and one for video. Both write production-grade prompts in the exact syntax each model needs. So type in any idea you want for visuals, and this skill will make the prompt better. First step to install, you go to the GitHub repo URL and paste it into Claude Code and ask it to install it. And there it is, it's installed. Now, I'm going to show you a side-by-side comparison. So the platform I'm going to use to generate images and videos is Higgsfield. It is a website that uses various models for AI video and image generation. In this first one, I wanted to test out a really basic prompt, and I just wrote a Latina businesswoman in her 30s wearing business attire, standing in a trendy upscale office. It's super basic and generic. Now looking at the image, it's decent, but it's kind of flat, plastic, and in my mind, not very real, genuine, and cinematic. Now I take the exact prompt, copy it and paste it into Claude Code, ask Claude to use visual skills to rewrite the prompt for this model. In this case, I chose the Nano Banana Pro. Now look at the difference. The prompt now is massive. It has specific camera language, specific lighting, specific environmental detail, specific character action, the kind of detail you'd see in a real cinematographer's notes. Same subject, same model, completely different output. Check out the photoreal face, the realistic hair. It just looks like a real person and not an AI rendering. Now we're gonna do the same thing with video. So watch this. Basic prompt of a guy eating cereal in his kitchen promoting a product. I'm going to use Kling for this one. Now with the result, you see it's a generic version. You can't even read the text on the cereal box and it's just very flat. Now I take the same prompt, copy it, paste it into Claude Code, and I ask it to rewrite this prompt for Kling 3.0 using visual skills. Then it pulls every reference file, every rule, and every shot detail in its library. Now look at this. It's great because it made the box ambiguous so you can't read the text. Plus, I love how he points to the box and taps it, makes it feel more real. Your team gets usable visuals on the first or second generation instead of the 10th, which lowers token costs and gives you faster delivery on every project. So to recap, you can use visual skills for AI image generation, AI video generation, multi-shot sequences, character continuity across prompts, which is very important, and storyboard generation from scripts. Once the footage is created, the next bottleneck is in the editor's afternoon. The unglamorous setup work of assembly takes, cutting out filler words, syncing audio, and building the rough cut before any real creative editing starts. Video use is from the browser use team. It takes your raw footage, you describe the edit in plain English, and you get an MP4 back. Cuts out filler words, removes dead space between takes, color grades each segment, adds 30 milliseconds of audio fades at every cut so you don't hear any pops. The wild part, before it shows you anything, it runs a self-evaluation, it re-renders, samples keyframes at every cut boundary, and verifies the edit is clean. Only after it passes its own quality check does it surface a preview. So let's install this skill. Like I always do, I go on the GitHub repo, I copy the URL, and I go into Claude Code and I ask it to install it and read up about the skill in the repo to learn how to use it properly. During this setup, you'll probably have to give it an 11 Labs API key since it uses 11 Labs to transcribe and use that transcription for editing. Once it's installed, I'm going to show you a real walkthrough. So I have raw footage on my SSD, and it's a talking head clip that I used for a TikTok video where I talked about how to use AI to create an action plan from podcasts. In this clip, I make a bunch of mistakes in the beginning. Check it out. If you had to pause a podcast 10 times or pull over to take notes, if you've ever had to pause a podcast while driving, now let's see if Claude catches those mistakes and picks the best take. So next, you just drop the video into the project folder you're working out of. Then in Claude Code, open up the folder. If you're in VS Code, you go to the left to your File tab. And then in the chat box, you'll see the slash button. And that slash button will mention a file from that folder and the project. So just type in the name of your video. And then from there, I just put in my prompt. And that's it. So during this time, it's analyzing the footage. It also identifies that it is a phone video and recognizes the topic, builds an edit plan, or even knows the orientation of the video as vertical. You can see exactly what it's planning, what's working, what isn't, and what it's going to cut. This is great because then it gives you an idea of the places where you would want to stop it from editing. And if you have your own ideas for cuts, you could put it in the chat and then it will edit wherever you feel will be the best takes. And here's the cut. If you've ever had to pause a podcast 10 times while driving or pull over to take notes, you gotta stop. There's an easy AI fix for this. I'm gonna show you how to take a podcast episode, transcribe it, and then use AI to create an action plan to actually do something with that information after listening to a podcast episode. It took out my bad takes in the beginning and it kept the best one. Clean intro to outro. I'm gonna be real, this was a really simple clip to edit, and I'm sure you have a lot more complicated videos out there to edit. But this is really great for just taking out the filler space and the bad takes, and honestly just acts like an assistant editor. And with that being said, it's not going to be perfect on the first try. It's like working with a remote editor on Fiverr. You have to train the model on your style. It takes a few iterations before it really knows how to cut your videos. At the end of the day, the lead editor will own the final cut on premium work. The pacing, the story choices, the emotional rhythm, that's still them. Claude just handled the assembly cut, the part that used to take all day. And what's great is that you're training video use on your style. So in the future, you'll be able to just give it videos in the same format and it'll cut it based on the notes you gave it in previous sessions. So for a recap, use video use for rough cut assemblies, social repurposing from long form, kind of like your own opus, interview selects, tutorial and talking head edits, quick turnaround content. And now that you're done with editing, it's time to add some motion graphics. And if you watched my last video on replacing After Effects, you already know about HyperFrames. This is the skill that turned my whole motion graphics workflow into a Claude conversation. Now the quick recap, HyperFrames is HeyGen's open source HTML to MP4 renderer. You or Claude or any other agent out there writes the HTML, CSS, and animation code. It then renders an MP4, including ProRes alpha MOVs with proper transparency for lower thirds, callouts, and overlays. So as always, you go to the website, copy the URL, and bring it into Claude Code. Enter your prompt, paste the link, and install the skill. And now it's done installing. So let's have a real example. I'm going to take the same video we just cut in video use and add motion graphics to it. So here's my prompt using the HyperFrame skill. Like I did before, I attach my brand deck so it knows my colors and fonts. Then you can see it start planning the graphics. The lower thirds, the pain point card, a text pop for easy AI fix, 3-step process cards, even a brand watermark. But reading all of that, they're great, but I don't want the watermark. So I say in the chat, skip watermark and do everything else. And it just keeps going. Now it's done, and here's the rendered output. If you've ever had to pause a podcast 10 times while driving or pull over to take notes, you gotta stop. There's an easy AI fix for this. I'm gonna show you how to take a podcast episode, transcribe it, and then use AI to create an action plan to actually do something with that information after listening to a podcast episode. It's not perfect, but you can see that it has lower thirds, callouts, and animated text, all on brand. Just through typing and voice prompting, no keyframing, no After Effects. And if you want changes like making the lower thirds bigger, changing the captions to match your brand more, you just give notes in plain English in the chat box. Your motion designer still directs the look and improves every animation. Claude just handles the rendering and brand consistency. Revisions in minutes instead of days. So to recap, use HyperFrames for lower thirds and callouts, animated title cards, branded full screen graphics, social motion graphics, and animated logos. All right, so here's the bonus skill. Everything I just showed you is a folder with a skill.md file inside. It's called a markdown. Plain text instructions that tell Claude how to perform a multi-step process consistently, which means anything you or your agency does over and over again can become its own skill. Skill Creator is Anthropic's official meta skill, a skill that teaches you and Claude how to build its own skills. It walks you through the structure, writes the markdown, and installs it. Basically, it creates a skill for you. Same install pattern as always. You take this command prompt and you put it into Claude Code and you install it. Now that it's installed, I'm going to build a real skill right now. I'm going to make a skill that takes any government RFP I upload and generate a branded proposal response using my brand deck. So again, I mention or upload my brand deck and put in my prompt. Now it asks me a few questions to make sure the skill works long term. I'll just go with the recommended answers. It writes the skill.md file, installs it, then it's done. Now let's test it. I'm going to upload a real RFP. And this is a big one, a multi-page government document. Now watch. It uses the skill I just built, then generates the first draft of a branded proposal. Look, at first bat, this is a legit looking proposal. It's branded, on point, would have taken me 2 days of design and writing. And from this point, I would just give it notes and refine it so it looks better. And a bonus tip, you can use Skill Creator to audit existing skills. Just watch. I'm going to use Skill Creator to audit the video use skill we just installed. So there's my prompt. Now it runs through a whole checklist, finds what could be improved, and rewrites the skill for you. So if you install a third-party skill from GitHub and want to know if they're optimized, audit them with this skill. This is the multiplier. every repeatable thing at your company is now a candidate for becoming a permanent system. So to recap, Skill Creator is for standardizing any repeatable workflow, encoding your brand voice into a skill, building client-specific skills, automating proposals, intakes, reporting, and auditing skills from GitHub. I hope you like that. Here's a quick recap. The full pipeline is the front-end design and/or impeccable skill for the pitch phase and to win the client. The creative director skill for the concepting phase, generating ideas calibrated against the best. The visual skills for the production phase. You can generate visuals that don't look like AI slop. The video use skill for the editing phase, rough cuts in plain English. HyperFrame skills for the finishing phase, on-brand motion graphics from a conversation and by using your or your client's brand deck. And the bonus skill, the skill creator. Build your own skills customized towards your workflow and company. Install these 5 skills, train them once for your brand or your client's brands, and you have an AI-powered production system that gives your team back hours every week. Not by replacing the people on your team, by taking the grunt work off their plate so they can spend more time on the creative thinking that brands actually pay for. Now, if you're an agency owner, a brand marketing lead, or you run an in-house creative team and you want this set up for your operation without building it yourself, that's what we do at Creative Haven. Link to book a strategy call below in the description. And if you're a creator or an in-house designer who wants to learn this whole system step by step, I'm building a community called Video Content School. And if you want to join, drop VCS in the comments if you want early access. And if this helped, please like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think would find this helpful. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.